What's going on, everyone? Andy with the Heartland Institute, bringing you more from climaterealism.com. So, we've all heard the claims this year that this was a horrific hurricane season. This is the new normal. This is climate change in action. We've had more hurricanes than ever. It was one of the worst Atlantic hurricane seasons of all time. Well, this is not true. So, we're going to check out a chart that shows major, which are Category 3 or above hurricanes that made landfall in the United States. This chart comes from Bjorn Lomborg in his peer-reviewed paper, Welfare in the 21st Century, Increasing Development, Reducing Inequality, the Impact of Climate Change, and the Cost of Climate Policies. Let's check it out. So the chart you're looking at shows U.S. major landfalling hurricanes between 1900 and 2020. On the y-axis, we have number of major hurricanes, so it's between 0 or 4. And then on the x-axis, we have the years. So you can see in 1900, it was just one hurricane, and as the years go by, it's between 0, 1, 2, or 3. But if you look at the overarching chart, you can see there were more years that had major hurricanes on the left side, which is near the 1900s, than on the right. So one thing you should notice on this chart is that from 2006 to 2016, there was not a single major hurricane that reached land in the United States. This is actually the longest period in recorded history without this happening. So any narrative that the last 20 years has been horrible for hurricanes is completely false. We had the longest period in recorded history without a major hurricane reaching land. Now, you can see in 2020, there was only one hurricane that made landfall that was Category 3 or above, which was Hurricane Laura. So the narrative that this was a horrible hurricane season is not true. We only had one major hurricane that actually reached land. Okay, so this next chart we're going to look at comes from meteorologist Dr. Ryan Maui, and it charts global tropical cyclone accumulated cyclone energy, which is essentially how powerful storms are. So this is for the last 30 years. Let's check it out. So the red line represents global accumulated cyclone energy, the blue line is the northern hemisphere, and the green line is the southern hemisphere. So for all three lines, you can see that there's a lot of noise, a lot of variability, but overall there's a slight downward trend. So overall, over the last 30 years, hurricanes have actually been less powerful. So what Dr. Ryan Maui wrote on Twitter is this: 2020 finished up well below last 30-year average because of the intensity suppression in the Pacific due to La Nina. Pretty surprising scientific result considering the narrative. So continuing, if it looks like I'm in a slightly different position than earlier, it's because I recorded the whole thing and then my camera cut off halfway through, which I was not aware of. So we're re-recording the second half. Deal with it, folks. But so continuing, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, predicts that global warming will lead to a 5% increase in the severity of hurricanes, but a 25% decrease in the frequency of them. This is their conclusion. Therefore, we conclude that it is premature to conclude with high confidence that increasing atmospheric greenhouse gas concentrations from human activities have had a detectable impact on Atlantic Basin hurricane activity. And the last chart we're going to look at here just shows total hurricanes that made landfall in the United States from 1900 to modern day. So this isn't just Category 3 or above, this is all hurricanes. Let's look at it. Okay, so again, this chart, total hurricanes that made landfall in the United States. We can see that it's between 0 or 7 every year. You can see there's a lot of variability year by year, but what you have to really look at here is the dotted red line. That's the trend line, so that's what actually measures the overall trend of hurricanes per year in the United States. And you can see that over the course of the last 120 years, the trend line is actually sloping slightly downward. So ignoring the variability or the noise, we're actually seeing less hurricanes of any strength that make landfall in the United States. So what do we draw from this? Well, a few things. One, the media's narrative that we're seeing more severe and just more hurricanes in general is not true. The overall trend line that we just looked at of all hurricanes that make landfall in the United States is going down. More, we recently just went through the longest period in recorded history without a major hurricane, which is Category 3 or above, making landfall in the United States. In 2020, we only had one hurricane that was Category 3 or above make landfall. So it's a complete alarmist narrative that hurricanes are getting way worse and that this is climate change in action. Even NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, said they cannot conclude that human activities are leading to increased hurricanes. So this is Andy with the Heartland Institute. I hope this all helped you out. Peace.